Hello and welcome to Intern Insights. I'm Dr. Bruce Finklea, and I'm the Internship Coordinator for Mass Communication here at the University of Montevallo. Internships provide our students with a valuable real-world experience, and this is something that we can't always replicate here in the classroom. So this show highlights what they're out there learning and where they're finding these awesome internships. And joining me on this episode is Kelly Garrett, who interned at WBRC Fox 6 News in Birmingham last summer. Thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So I wanted to talk to you about your experience, especially because you've got to come back and have this whole year here where you've had all of this internship experience under your belt now. But let's start with just what was your average day like as an intern at Fox 6?
Absolutely. So I kind of got to pick what I wanted to. They kind of guided me, gave me advice on what I should do, but I spent a lot of time with the photogs, going out and like covering different stories with them. I even got to ask some of the questions for the people we were interviewing, and then come back and help them and watch them like edit the whole clip together and watch it all the way go to the actual newsroom.
So what would you say was the most interesting experience that you had during your internship?
The most interesting experience, just I guess going out on these different shoots, you never knew what you were going into. Well, you kind of had an idea, but just seeing like how they could take a turn or how you had a good plan about it, and then kind of adapting. That was a big part. It's just learning how to ask the questions that needed to be asked and adapting to the situations and then coming back and putting it all together.
So out of all of the jobs that you tried, what was the one that you kind of gravitated to the most?
So going into my internship, I thought I had my whole life plan made out. That's definitely not the case. So I wanted to be a photog, so I went out with them a lot. But towards the end, they kind of like started putting me more with the producers. And so that's where I found my niche. Like that's where towards the end, I always wanted to stay with the producers and write more. And so I think that was the good part about my internship is they did lead me to they gave me coaching and whatnot. So definitely just doing what I wanted and finding my place in the newsroom.
So for those of you that don't know what a producer is, Kelly, can you kind of tell people what a newscast producer does?
Yeah, so they basically kind of put the story together. They find the stories they want to cover for that day, and then they send the reporters out and to cover the stuff happening in town and whatnot. And then they write and organize the whole newscast and then watch it or play it out on TV.
So my background was in newscast production, and what I loved about it was I got to be the boss, right?
Absolutely.
Because that was something like my goal had been, I'm going to start out as this reporter, and then I'm going to work my way up to anchor. And I remember during my internship, and I interned right next door at WVTM 13, and I remember one day, watching this reporter and story idea after story idea just kept falling through. And the producer was just like, find something, make it work. And I was like, wait a minute, that reporter's out there stressing out, trying to, they're on story idea 5 or 6, and that producer's just like, make it happen. And so I realized it was great for me because I like to be bossy and I like to write, and a producer is both of those things. So how has your internship from last summer helped you this year in your classes here in Mass Comm?
Definitely, it helped me so much. So before my internship, I was just the broadcast concentration. Now I've added double concentration, so that's added even more classes, but it's I feel like it's given me a leg up in the classroom. I know what to expect when writing stories and kind of what the real world format would be. So I can kind of write towards that and like my experiences, use those and apply those to these classroom projects.
And one of the things, so you're in my 265 broadcast news writing class, and one of the things that's really cool for me is like the instances where, and I tell you, I'm like, oh, your internship is showing, because I can see those skills that they taught you there at Fox 6 showing up in your writing and in just thinking like a producer. And how would we tackle this story in a working newsroom? How would we fit it into a newscast? And so I think that that is a great example of the benefit of, for you know, interning at a time where you still had a good bit of time left here at Montevallo.
There was so much to learn.
Oh, yeah. And by the time you get around to graduating, you know, you have that foundation from your internship. That's giving you the leg up in class. You are just going to be so well positioned for the real world. So the last question I have for you is we've had a lot of folks go to WBRC over the years. What advice would you give a future intern that is going there?
Yeah, definitely be open-minded. Like I said, I went in wanting one career, came out with a completely different career path for my future. So definitely be open-minded and let them kind of like coach you and shape you. Because I went in, was not a good writer, did not want to write anything. And they were like, well, just write this tease for me. And so I wrote it, and they're like, that's really good. Like, you should write some more. So I kept writing teases, and then eventually I was actually writing stuff, like full stories that made it to air. And so I think that was really cool. It just letting them kind of shape me and coach me on that really made a difference in my internship experience.
I would call my mom and say, hey, make sure you watch it this time.
Oh, yeah.
The story that's about, you know, whatever it was. I was like, that was me.
There was one night I sat there, I was like, okay, you got to turn on the TV. And I was texting both my parents. I was like, I wrote this one. Okay, I wrote that one too. And this one. So it was so much fun to see it actually come to fruition.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
If you're a mass communication major interested in an internship, you must be a junior or senior and have completed at least 15 hours in the major. You must also have a 2.5 overall GPA. Internship credit hours are variable. You can do a max of 6 hours for credit, and internship hours are offered in fall, spring, and summer 2 terms. Now, if you have any other questions or want any other information, you can email me at bfinklea@montevallo.edu or just drop by my office here in Strong Hall. So that's all the time we have for this episode of Intern Insights. Kelly, thanks so much for joining me today and sharing some of your wisdom from Fox 6. And that's all we've got, so we'll see you again next time.